What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Happy Thursday. We are almost there. It is Friday's Eve. It is Friday. I said Friday's Eve. Lord, it is Friday Eve. There's no S in that. There is no S in that. Really be. Yes, honey. If y'all remember when I used to do my retro reviews, that was my intro for my retro reviews. I thought it was appropriate for the topic today that we talking about. I should have done it for America's Next Top Model. I wasn't thinking. I could have done it for that. And yes, don't nobody ask me about no retro reviews. We gonna get them one day. One of these days. Okay. Oh, and I do want to let y'all know I am going to be talking about Ladies of London. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. I think I'm like 3 or 4 episodes behind. So what I think I'm going to do is just do quick uploads of like the first couple of episodes, and then I'll do the next episode. I'll do it as a live review, and then we can just talk about everything. But baby, yeah, they cutting up over there. All right, you guys. So we are going to talk about last night, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Last week they did America's Next Top Model, and this week they did The Price is Right. Now, the first week they did Dr. Phil, and I really wasn't interested in talking about Dr. Phil for a variety of reasons. Reason number one, I don't really think there's anything you could tell me about what happened on the Dr. Phil show that I would be surprised or shocked by. So and two, I don't feel like talking about Dr. Phil because I don't. So, and of course, last week, we got all up in America's Next Top Model. So last night, I started watching The Price. I was on the fence about The Price is Right one because I do remember some things that came out about Price is Right, but I wasn't tuned into every little aspect of what was going on down to The Price is Right. Of course, myself, like many other people who grew up in the 90s, you grew up. We all grew up on the game show, the daytime game shows. If you went to your grandmama's house, I know me, I used to spend my breaks at my godmother's house, and she watched all of them. I remember Sale of the Century, of course, the Pyramid, Newlywed Show, The Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal, and then, of course, in the evening, she would watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. It was a few other ones during the day that she used to watch. But, of course, The Price is Right was like the top-rated daytime show. So everybody knew it, and we all knew Bob Barker. And I thought we all loved Bob Barker. But after last night, that was the sick, right? If you went over if you were sick, baby, you better, you was over your grandmama's house, honey. You could check it out, right? So let's go through these notes. Now, I'm gonna be honest and tell you something else too. I also walked away from this having a different respect for Claudia Jordan. Claudia Jordan gets a raw deal a lot, and some of it's deserved, but when we get to that part, if y'all watched it, y'all know what I mean. But when we get to that part. So last night, Dirty Rotten Scandals on E, they did a 2-part. So this was a 2-hour episode on The Price is Right and Bob Barker. So let's get into it, you guys. Let's get into it. So we start off, they talk about that Diane Diamond from Hard Copy. If you guys remember Hard Copy was like the TMZ before TMZ. It was like a TV version of the National Enquirer, right? They weren't as trashy as the National Enquirer, but they definitely got messy in celebrity news and that kind of thing. They were like a like I said, they were TMZ before TMZ. Where is it playing? It was on E. It came on E last night. It came on E. So if you have the E channel, that's where it came on. So what I did not know is that The Price is Right is actually a reboot. Bob Barker in 1972 was chosen to host the Price is Right, and it was a reboot. It was called The New Price is Right. I didn't know that. I thought The Price is Right was an original, but of course, how would I know? That was before I was born, 1972. So I wouldn't know. Bob Barker actually moved to Hollywood. Him and his wife, they moved to Hollywood on a wing and a prayer. He had that same, that I'm gonna be. You know, he had the cliche Hollywood story. Oh, I moved to Hollywood with $200 in my pocket and a dream, and my wife believed in me. And basically, almost immediately, they said that he started working in Hollywood. Now, let me put a pin in that and let me give y'all a sidebar. Knowing what I know now about a lot of these rags to riches stories, especially coming out of old Hollywood, a lot of those stories being manufactured, a lot of those stories being made to look like, oh, this was, you know, rags to riches and he just ran into the right people at the right time. I would hold on, y'all. I gotta take this call real quick. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me take this call. I truly apologize, you guys. I had to take that call. That was Dee Dee. That was the person, the author that is coming to our session. And we have been playing phone tag for like, we've been texting and phone tagging. And so I was like, let me take this call because Lord knows when I'm gonna get her on the phone. And we just had to, just had to shore some things up, confirm some things. She's so excited, you guys. She's looking forward to it. And so we were just tightening some stuff up that we just had to talk about. So I apologize. I truly, truly apologize. But just know we're working hard for this event to make it a good time for everybody that's coming. So thank you, Tracy, for making sure you keeping the people entertained with the bar, getting them their drinks and stuff. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all holding it down. Thank you. And I'm sorry that I had to take that call. I know that was a little rude, but I really needed to talk to her because, again, it might be another 2-3 days before I get in touch with her. And we were just talking about just some logistics stuff and that kind of stuff. So anyway, with that being said, you guys, I'm sorry. Let me get into it. So with Bob Barker, what I was saying was I would be interested to know if there's a real story behind his, me and my wife packed up the car, came to Hollywood, and all of a sudden everything started going great for me. That's generally not most people's real story. And what I know about old Hollywood is that when you have old Hollywood and you have back when they had when the movie, the production studios controlled everything. They controlled everybody's narrative and they made up stories for everybody. They made up bios for everybody. So again, that's not a big deal, but after seeing what we found out about Bob Barker as we go through, it's just something that was on the back of my mind. Like, I wonder if people really dug deep into his real story I just wonder if there's more to it. I just wonder. Anyway, but Bob Barker, he was people liked him. He was very charismatic. He fit the mold of the handsome white man, back in the 70s, all that good stuff. Barbara Hunter, who was a producer and one of the first women producers on this show, and probably one of the first women producers, but she spoke. And she was talking about how, one of the things that they came up with as a production staff, one of the things they came up with was Barker's Beauties. And again, if you've ever watched The Price is Right, you know who I'm talking about. These were the women, and I think now they have men and women that do it. But back then it was the 3 women who showed off the prizes. They were the ones that, y'all seen The Price is Right. They showed off the prizes. So we had Holly, we had Janice, and we had Diane. They were the first original. They said Holly was one of the main people to be interviewed, and she has a story to tell. But Holly said the first couple of years of the show were great. She said everybody got along. It was like a family. She said they would stay late at night just to hang out with each other. She said they would do like impromptu productions on the stage while they were there. They would order pizza and all that kind of stuff. And she said life was so good on the show in the beginning. It just was great. She said, I loved my job. I loved coming to work. It was so good. But then the original executive producer, Jay Walper, I hope I said his name right, he left the show. And they said that Barbara was actually positioned to take over as executive producer of the show. But Jay brought in his son, who had absolutely no experience in television production, didn't know what he was doing, didn't know anything about the show. But because of nepotism and because he was a man, he brought his son in to take over. And they said that was where things started going left on the show. His name was Phil, and they said not only did they bring Phil in and kind of bumped Barbara out of the way, but they also brought him in at the same salary that Barbara was currently making. That it took her, she had been working in network television for like 13 years to get to that salary. I think Janice starred in the first Wonder Woman TV show starring Kathy Crosby. This was before Linda Carter. I didn't know there was another Wonder Woman show. What? Linda Carter wasn't the first Wonder Woman? y'all really be blowing my mind. Oh, it was a TV movie. Okay, I got it. Okay. It wasn't a show. It was a Wonder Woman TV movie. And then they made the show from the... Okay, all right. I can live with that. Because I was getting ready to say, you don't... What? Because y'all do know I still have all of the Wonder Womans on DVD. I have the whole Linda Carter, the Wonder Woman, Linda Carter. Baby, I got it on DVD. And that's part of the reason why I won't get rid of my DVD. I know y'all be laughing at me about having my DVD. But sometimes I feel like watching some of that stuff. Ellie Wood Walker, 1967, and Kathy Lee Crosby in 1974. Baby, thank you, Miss Cruiser. I'm gonna stop coming down here and talking to y'all because y'all really be blowing my mind. Y'all be really messing my head up sometimes. First, we find out that Rufus is a band and not a person. And then I find out that y'all don't even know who Phyllis Hyman is. And when I say y'all, I mean the people who didn't know. I don't mean everybody. Y'all know some of y'all knew, but the people don't know who Phyllis Hyman is. And then now I had to find out that Linda Carter wasn't the original one. I've been eating drinks sometime coming down here talking to y'all. I've been eating drinks sometime. Y'all really be. Anyway, Cruiser said, I'm going back to the skybox. Nah, stay down here now. You here now. You wanted to watch Low Down Dirty Shame. See, that's what I'm saying. That's why y'all better hold on to these DVRs. I mean, these DVDs. Shoot. Okay. No, Brooklyn, that's what we just found out. It was a television show. Baby, I didn't know. I mean, a TV movie. Baby, I didn't know. DVDs are making a comeback. Well, hell, I never got rid of mine. Mine's still sitting right over there. It's still sitting right there underneath my TV. Anyway, so we had the Barker's Beauties. Okay. Oh, I already talked about that. Okay. So Barber was pushed out and they put his son on Phil. All right. I already said that. Okay. All those things in my notes I already said. Okay. Next thing you know, they said that is when a lot of the sexual harassment became very, very rampant on The Price is Right. Like a lot of the sexual harassment become very rampant on The Price is Right. Okay. Well, I got rid of a lot of my DVDs, but I kept the ones like that. Those are the ones I did keep, but I got rid of a lot of them because some of them I was like, I'm never watching this again. But anyway, moving right along. You just bought a new DVD player? Oh, wow. Hey, Virgo, I still have my VCR too. And I still have VHS tapes. Sure do. Holly told the story about Phil coming up to her before they were getting ready to go on hiatus, their little summer break. Their little break, saying to her, we need to find models that can fill out a bathing suit. And basically he was letting her know that she needed to get breast implants. And he was like, and she said, that was the average. That was the way things were back then. Like, you need to go get some breast implants or you're not going to have a job. Like, we need to find women that can fill out these bathing suits. And she said every chance they got to put them in bathing suits, they did. Every time that one of the prizes was a boat or a trip to an island or something, they were in bathing suits. And so she said she knew that meant, okay, I better go and get me some breast implants. She said, and they didn't even offer to pay for it. There was another story where Barbara, the producer, told where Phil told her to go into the dressing room where the Barker's women had their costumes, told her to go find a bunny costume like a la Playboy and sent her upstairs to Mark Goodson, who was like the head honcho. Y'all know, if you've ever seen if you ever used to watch daytime game shows, the name Mark Goodson, and sent her upstairs to Mark Goodson's office with a bottle of champagne in a bunny suit. And again, very a la Playboy, right? And she said, she basically, again, nobody said, well, if you don't do it, you're going to be fired. She said, but I was too scared to find out. I was too scared to say no and find out if I was going to get fired. And so she said she did it. She said she, obviously was humiliated. And then she said when she got to the man's office, it wasn't just him in the office. It was him and like 7 or 8 other executives in his office. So here I am, a producer on this show, and you got me walking around here in a bunny suit carrying some champagne like I'm a hostess. They said the women were treated like meat, And again, I'm not saying that makes it okay, but this was the 1970s, and that's kind of what was happening. Women were very much treated like meat, and there was a lot of harassment going on. So, but in the beginning, a lot of the harassment was coming from Phil, right? And he just created that environment of men talking inappropriately, men, being harassing the women and all that kind of stuff. According to the women, the people who were talking, they said things really took a turn from Bob Barker in 1981 after his wife died. They said that him and his wife had been together forever. They really loved each other, and they didn't start seeing certain things in his behavior until after that. They said after his wife died, he went through a very long period of mourning. He was very depressed, even, on the verge of wanting to unalive himself. It was really, really bad. And then they said one day it's almost like he just came out of it. And that's when things changed, because now he kind of got over that. He kind of got past the mourning, and now it was like, hey, I'm here. And they said he started dating, and he was a lot more flirty, and he was a lot more, they said that's when things sort of went bad. In 1988, he became the executive producer, and that's when it really got bad, they said. They said he started ruling with an iron fist. He had total power. Yeah, Dorothy Joe. Thank you. His wife's name was Dorothy Joe. Thank you, lovely, because I didn't write her name down. Thank you, lovely Nola. They said in 1988, he started managing with an iron fist, and it was his way or the highway, and he, excuses to be a creep. Oh, no, I ain't giving nobody no excuses. I don't want nobody to think I'm giving no excuses. No excuses. I wrote stage manager Robert. I don't know why I wrote that down. Oh, he was probably one of the stage man. Robert was telling stories. Okay, I tried to write the people down as they were talking. And so they said that's when things really started taking a turn. We're talking about The Price is Right and Bob Barker. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you, Cruiser. Thank you. So then, they started getting pressure. They started getting pressure from the network and from, the network that they needed some color. The show was a little too white. They said CBS was starting, CBS as a network was starting to be known as, where no coloreds live. They started showing, like they showed, they had Murphy Brown and Designing Women, which we know Meshack Taylor was on Designing Women, but he wasn't a star. Bob Newhart. Like, they started showing all these shows that were on CBS at the time, and basically the CBS as a network was getting pressured that they needed to put some color on. This was probably also around the time as we started seeing some other people, like the Cosby Show and stuff like that. And so people were like, wait a minute, why CBS don't have no more color over here? So in comes the first Black Bob Barker, woman by the name of Kathleen Bradley. So Kathleen Bradley was introduced as I'm the game show historian, was featured in the documentary. Thank you for watching. I have so much pride. Wait a minute. Are you the person that was, wait a minute. Are you the no disrespect. Are you the white guy that was there that was like the game show historian? Oh my gosh. I would love to talk to you. Yes. Hold on. Do you have like social media and stuff like that I can follow? And yes, you definitely, if this is the same person, you definitely, okay, you are. Well, thank you for being here. I enjoyed you last night on the show as well. And yes, I would love to interview you because I have more questions. So yeah, let me, let me know where I can find you. I mean, this is your name on YouTube. Let me know where I can find you on Instagram, and let's chat. Yeah. Thank you for being here. You're Puerto Rican. No disrespect. No disrespect. No disrespect. I apologize. I apologize. I apologize. I just didn't. I apologize. Yeah. Matter of fact, if you want to come up, I can drop the link. I can drop the link if you want to come up and share some stuff with us. Do you remember when Richard Dawson was on Family Feud and kissed the ladies on the... Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of felt like we knew that Richard Dawson was a creep. Like, as an adult, I could see that. Bob Barker, I didn't see coming. And a lot of it is because, too, we remember him with the save the dolls, get your pets spayed and neutered and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you want to come up, I will definitely drop the link. I can get back to my notes later. If you want to come up and talk to us, I would welcome it. Let me know. I'll drop you the link. But no pressure, no pressure, no pressure. Thank you for being here. Thank you for dropping down. Yeah, Richard. Oh, you know what he was on Hogan's Here? You know, you were a contestant and he didn't seem creepy to me on the Family Feud or on Okay, you're at work. Okay, cool. But thanks for being here. You were a contestant on The Price is Right. I used to want my dad to go on The Price. Let me tell you something. My dad could win The Price is Right. Like, even to this day, my dad can win The Price is Right. My dad literally, when I watch him, he knows those prices. Baby, he knows all those prices. And he be cussing. First of all, let me tell you something. Don't call, The Price is Right with Bob Barker. Yeah, he didn't come off as creepy or anything to me either. But watching last night, I definitely have a different opinion. Let me tell y'all something. Do not call my parents' house when The Price is Right is on. Because my dad's not going to talk to you. You better call before it come on or you better call after. Because if you call and it's on, he's not going to talk to you. Because he's watching The Price is Right. And he gets mad. He be yelling at the people when they overbid. He be getting mad at them like they supposed to know. But when I say my dad gets those prices right, my dad gets those. I was like, we got to get him out to LA because he could win this show. He could win us some money and a brand new camper or something, a trip to Australia, something. One of my patients is trying out for that. Baby, we need to get my daddy on there. But anyway, let's get back to my notes. So one of the things they talked about was the producers, when they would be in their production meeting, they would use the N-word, right? They would freely use the N-word. And this was something that got back to Kathleen like later. It wasn't something that, obviously they didn't say it to her, but they said it about her and they said it, in their regular conversation. So they said that the sexual harassment started around this time. And when the Barker Beauties complained and other women complained about it, they said Bob Barker enacted this 10-second rule, which basically said that no man could stare at any woman longer than 10 seconds. Let's examine that. First of all, do y'all know how long 10 seconds is if you just stop and count to 10? And you just 1 Mississippi. Somebody staring at your breast. 2 Mississippi. 3 Mississippi. 4 Mississippi. 5 Mississippi. 6 Mississippi. 7 Mississippi. 8 Mississippi. 9 Mississippi. 10. Now, can you imagine somebody just staring at your breast or staring at your ass? Second of all, how do you even enforce that? Do you just walk around with a stopwatch and say, 8 seconds, right here, over here? How you enforce a 10-second rule that you can't stare at somebody longer than 10 seconds? Third, who's enforcing that? Who has time to just walk around and... So it was clearly something that was done to pacify the women. It was never something that was meant to be real or really be enforced. It was something to say, hey, I did something here. I did something here. Right? Now, here's where it gets a little juicy. Bob actually started sleeping with one of the Barker's Beauties. He did. He started sleeping with Diane. Now, to be fair, the way the story was sort of told in Dirty Rotten Scandals, almost as if Diane was, I don't want to use the word aggressor, but certainly a willing participant in the affair. Bob had a whole girlfriend. And they said that it really wasn't a secret from anybody on set that the two of them were sleeping together. Whenever they had breaks, she was down in his dressing room and you could hear them. Baby, you could hear them. They said that, you know, she basically was walking around there like, I'm sleeping with the boss. You can't tell me shit kind of thing, right? Well, let me tell y'all how this thing went down. And Diane was beautiful. They said she was a former USA and a runner-up to Miss Universe. Let me tell y'all something. Diane seems sneaky to me. I'm going to say this. Hold on. Because I don't want to forget to say this part. Let me tell y'all how it went down, though. This is where it got him having the affair. Okay, he was sleeping with one of the Barker's Beauties. I kind of wasn't shocked to hear that. But the way it ended is what shocked me. Y'all ready to hear this? Listen. Bob's girlfriend called Holly. Holly is one of the other Barker's Beauties, right? We're going to get to Holly. Holly got a whole story. We're going to get to that in a minute. Bob's girlfriend called Holly. And she said to Holly, listen, I know he's sleeping with Diane. They ain't, you ain't got to tell me that. And Holly, thinking, that she was looking out for her girl, told the girlfriend, well, Holly got a lot of men. She been dating a lot of men. She got a lot of men on her arm. And Bob's girlfriend was like who? And so she said she started naming all the different men that Holly be dating. And some of those men were athletes and some of those men were black men. Now, I didn't think that was a big deal. Neither did Holly. But once Holly, because Holly didn't say who these people were, but these must have been prominent, well-known men in the 1980s, right? Because once Holly said some of them names, Bob's girlfriend said, oh, I wonder if Bob knows that Holly been sleeping with black men, because he thinks that black men are the worst kind of species and that they are diseased and they're nasty, and he would never sleep with a woman that has slept with a black man. I said, what? Bob Barker? Diane, okay. The girlfriend called Holly about Diane. I'm sorry. Y'all know, I'm sorry. Holly was the redhead. Yeah, the brunette/redhead. Holly was always my favorite too. And I love her even more now that I know the whole story. I said, wait a minute, what? Bob Barker thought that black men were diseased and he would never sleep with a woman that slept with black men. I said, what? Baby, Holly said next thing she knew, Bob and Diane were having a big old fight. A knockdown, drag out, kiss my ass kind of fight. Now, this was in 1993. You 50-50 with which one? What, 50-50 believing it? Oh, no. Because let me tell you why. Baby, because that's why they broke up. Because Bob confronted her about sleeping with black men. And they had a fight about it. And Holly was like, you got to be tripping. You really got to be kidding me right now. You really got to be kidding me right now. They had this big old knockdown, drag out fight, honey. And Holly stormed out of his dressing room. And they said that Bob's assistant came running after her and said, you got to come back. You got to apologize to him. You need to go back and you need to apologize to him. Baby, this is the line that got me right here. They could have ended the whole show on this line. They said that Diane turned around and said to his assistant, quote, I have sucked his dick too many times to kiss his ass now. I said, say what? She said, what? Baby, they said the whole studio heard it. You could hear a pin drop, baby. You could hear a pin drop. And they said she stormed out of there. Dropped that mic and got the hell up out of there. Next thing you know, that she wasn't fired. She didn't get fired. But next thing you know, they said that she went and posed for Playboy. And that was a no-no. Like it was explicit in their contract that they could not do Playboy. They couldn't do that kind of stuff. And so it was almost like a kiss my ass to Bob Barker that she went and posed for Playboy. And then that's when she got fired. Hold on. I'll be right back, y'all. I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry about that. Baby, that thing took me out. I said, no, she didn't. And they said that you could hear pin drops. Anyway, so she was fired after she posed for Playboy. And that's when she filed her sexual harassment lawsuit. Now, here's where the Me Too movement has changed things. Because by definition of what sexual harassment is, he was guilty. Now, as soon as she filed the lawsuit, he went on a press tour and basically he was like, look, we had a consensual affair. Everything else that she's saying, because she said that she was his sex slave and that he forced her into it. And, you know, she said a lot of those things. But he was like, I didn't do any of that. Nobody forced her into it. It was consensual. And she's just basically a scorned lover. You know, she's a scorned lover. And because he controlled the narrative, that's kind of where it went. But here's the problem. In today's world, post Me Too, it wouldn't have mattered if it was consensual. It was still sexual harassment. You were her boss. It doesn't matter if she came into your dressing room bucking naked. You were her boss. So you were wrong for having an affair with her. See what I'm saying? But he got away with it because this was the 1990s. This was pre-Me Too. And all he had to say was, it was consensual. And everybody said, oh, well, it was consensual. And it could have been. I wasn't there. I don't know if it was consensual or not. But the point is, it still was wrong. And in today's world, he would lose his job. He would lose his job. But of course, he didn't. He did not lose his job. The lawsuit got nasty, right? And here's where Holly comes into play. Holly would not give a deposition for the lawsuit. Everybody else did. Everybody else working there, they did. They gave a lawsuit and they lied. They lied about what, you know. And Holly was like, I'm not going to give a lawsuit. I'm not giving a deposition because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie and say that, you know, Diane is lying and she's some crazy scorned lover and none of these things are true and that the whole relationship was just consensual and there was no power play. She was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And as a result, they retaliated against Holly. First, they cut out her screen time. They told her she was getting fat and gaining weight. Again, something you can't, well, technically you can, but you really wouldn't necessarily get away with today. They said, well, you're gaining weight. And she said, well, my doctor has me on some medication, you know, that has me picking up a few pounds. But as soon as I'm off the medication, you know, I'll be able to lose the weight. But she wasn't like she got fat. She's picked up a few pounds, you know. And she said that she had a meeting with Bob Barker and she was like, what you want me to do? Stop taking my medicine? Like, I got something going on. They probably had her on some steroids or something. And Bob was like, I mean, I don't care what you do. You need to lose some weight or you're going to lose your job. So next thing you know, Diane drops her lawsuit. Now, it's strongly believed that she got a settlement and left, and that she also signed the NDA because ain't nobody heard or seen from Diane since. Holly says she ain't seen that woman since the lawsuit was dropped. Ain't seen or heard her. And the producers for the show said they looked for her and they can't find her. I feel like she must have changed her name. But they ain't heard from her since. So she dropped her lawsuit. And they said miraculously after she dropped her lawsuit, all of a sudden, Holly was fine again. She looked fine again. And she was back to, you know, getting her regular screen time. But then a couple of months after, I guess after all the smoke cleared, they circled back around to Holly and basically told her that, you know, she needed to, they gave her this early, they told her she was fat again. And then next thing you know, she was getting paperwork for retirement. And she was like, I'm not retiring. What you talking about? Like, I'm not trying to retire. And they were like, yeah, you are. You're retiring. And Holly was like, I'm not retiring. Like, I'm good. And they were like, no, you're going to retire. And they forced her to retire. They forced her to sign the paperwork and they forced her to retire to make it seem like she chose to walk away from the show instead of them making her walk away from the show. So she said, you know, for a couple of months, it was whatever until CBS released a statement explaining why she left the show and basically said that she, you know, walked away from the show to, you know, pursue other endeavors. And Holly was like, the hell I did. So she went on Hard Copy and told her side of the story. That they forced her to retire. She didn't want to leave the show. And she added a little, I would love to go back and find, it's probably somewhere on YouTube somewhere. I would love to find that interview and hear exactly what she said. But whatever she said, baby, they said next thing she knew, Bob Barker was suing her for defamation and libel. And that lawsuit went on for 5 years. Holly said she sold her house. She lost everything. She said she was literally living in her car, going from friend's house to friend's house. She said, but she was not going to drop that lawsuit. She was not going to settle because she said one thing was they wanted her to sign an NDA. And she was like, I'm not signing an NDA. I'm not going to sign an NDA to not talk about. So I want to talk about what I want to talk about. But we're going to come back. We're going to circle back around to Miss Holly. So they fired Holly. So and of course it was her word against Bob Barker, the machine, CBS, the machine. Yeah, baby, Bob Barker died. He died at, I think he was 90, 99, 90 something. So the first crack in the wall against Bob Barker, as far as this lawsuit with Holly was concerned, was a producer by the name of Linda Reichert. She, again, dealing with the sexual harassment from the producer Phil and how bad things were on the set. she actually reached out to Holly and told Holly, girl, I was there. I heard, like, I was in the room. They didn't know I was in the room, but I was in the room and I heard them tell you had to retire. I heard the conversation where they forced you to sign retirement papers. I was there. I heard it, and I'll be a witness for you. Because let me tell y'all what had happened. He died in 2023. Thank you, Below. Because let me tell y'all what had happened. When Holly's lawsuit rolled around and they wanted people to do a deposition for Holly, more people said no. There were 6 people actually that said no, they wouldn't do a deposition against Holly for Bob. All 6 of those people got fired. One of those women was Linda Reichert, and the other one was the first Black Bob Barker. I forgot her name. My apologies. No disrespect. Child, what I say her name was? No disrespect. I just got a lot of names here to remember. What I say her name was? Lord, it's in my notes. No. Y'all, I said her name a minute ago. Why I can't? It's right here. Kathleen Bradley. Thank you. So Kathleen Bradley was also one of the women fired, but the 6 and all of the Bob Barkers were fired. Kathleen, Janice, all of the Bob Barkers were fired, and then this producer. So she reached out to Holly and was like, "Look, girl, I'll testify for you because I heard everything. I was in the room. I heard them tell you had to that you had to retire." Okay. The next little crack in the Bob Barker wall as it relates to his lawsuit with Holly was a woman very familiar to us, Miss Claudia Jordan. Now listen, I knew she was on Deal or No Deal. I didn't know she was on The Price is Right. Okay. But Claudia Jordan came in as the second Black Bob, Barker Barker babes. And here's where we start seeing the tide turning, right? When it comes to what women will accept. And I don't want to say it in a bad way. I'm not disrespecting the women who came before us, because we know that women in the workforce dealt with a lot of shit, a lot of sexual harassment, a lot of racial things. And so I'm not saying it in disrespect. I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. But what I'm saying is that this new generation coming into the late 90s, early 2000s, yet certain things they wasn't going to just deal with because they didn't have to, right? They had other options, whereas in the 60s and 70s, women didn't have as many options, right? Barker Beauties. Thank you, child. Barker Beauties. With that being said, Claudia Jordan said that she was on the show and producer Phil walked up to her and like grabbed her ass. And she was like, "I'm sorry, excuse me? What the hell is wrong with you?" And she made a complaint. And after she made the complaint, Phil made her life a living hell. Like they said that he would do something. She accused him of like changing the clocks to make it look like she was coming late to work when she really wasn't late for work. And they ended up having a meeting with Bob where they basically talked to her about being late for work. And she was like, "Wait a minute. You gonna talk to me about being late for work? Are we not gonna talk about this man sexually harassing me, grabbing my ass? Like, we're not gonna have that conversation?" And she said Bob was like, "He apologized. What more do you want from him?" She also said that Phil would make like racially insensitive comments, like, "Let's do a reverse Oreo," because she was the only Black, Barker Beauty. So they would put the 2 white women on the outside and have her in the middle, and they called that the reverse Oreo. Or he would say, "Well, you're the ass model. You're the ass model," because of course we know the stereotype of Black women having the voluptuous booties, right? So what she ended up doing was she literally quit on air. She quit on air, and she filed sexual harassment paperwork. she had reached out to Holly's attorney, and not only said, "Hey, this is what's happening with me, and I will give an affidavit to support Holly's lawsuit, but I also want to sue their ass myself." And she sued. She said she got a settlement, and she must not have an NDA because she was talking her ass off. So she must not have an NDA, and she said she got a settlement as well. Well, by this time, now you have Claudia Jordan is suing, the former producer Linda suing, and then you have this lawsuit where Bob Barker is suing Holly. So the tide is starting to turn a little bit because Holly wouldn't drop the suit. And as a result of Claudia's lawsuit, Phil finally did get fired after years and years and years of people complaining about him having his job. I mean, remember, he got the job in the early 1980s. This was the late 1990s, early 2000s when he finally lost his job. So this man had and they gave him a great severance package. She said, but that was the result of Claudia's lawsuit. You're right, Messy Mouse. Claudia has made a few racially insensitive comments herself. You're correct. You are correct. Claudia is also biracial. I think her mother's Jewish. I don't know. That might be true. I don't know. So Claudia quit. Like I said, she quit on air. She literally had the microphone at the end of the show. She said they would have turns saying something at the end of the show. Basically, bye, have a good day kind of thing. And she said basically this place is an awful place to work, and I can't do it anymore, and today's my last day. Now, I'm sure they cut that out, but she said it in front of the audience who was sitting there, heard her. Her mom is Italian. I'm not sure of her religion. Okay. She also said that there was a lot of racial profiling. Claudia, that is, said that there was a lot of racial profiling going on the show where they would, they have the producers go out and scout the people that are waiting to come in. And they said they will always choose like the stereotypical Black people, loud or overweight. There was a rule that, according to Claudia, there was a rule that there could be no more than 2 Black contestants at a time. And Bob Barker didn't want the Black contestants to touch him. And they actually showed a clip of a Black woman she must have won the car or won the prize, and she was trying to hug him, and he is literally running from her, and he even said, "Don't you touch me." And they showed a clip of that, of him actually running from the Black woman saying, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." I said, okay. So Holly never dropped her lawsuit, right? Like I said, she said she lost her house, lost all her savings, was living out of her car, but she would not drop that lawsuit. She did whatever she had to do to pay her lawyers to keep the lawsuit going. And so finally, literally like 2 weeks before the case was supposed to go to trial, because she wouldn't drop it, 2 weeks before it's supposed to go to trial, Bob Barker drops the case. Mind you, this case been going on for 5 years. He drops the case literally right before it's getting ready to go to trial. So guess what Holly did, y'all? Holly played the Uno reverse on Bob Barker. She sued him for malicious prosecution. She said for him to drag out a lawsuit for 5 years, and then right before they were getting ready to go to trial, for him to drop that lawsuit, she said that's malicious prosecution. And she sued him. And she said she won everything she asked for. She obviously she didn't tell us how much money she got. She said she got everything she asked for because he settled with her, because at that point he knew, like, he had all these other lawsuits over his head. And what the part of the lawsuit that he was suing about was that he said we did not force her to quit. She quit. We didn't force her to retire. And of course, by now, they've got the testimony of the producer that heard it. We've got Claudia Jordan's sexual harassment lawsuit. You've got all these other things. And they gave her what she wanted. So, and she didn't have to sign an NDA, which is why she was telling her story on this particular documentary, because she could talk. And again, Claudia clearly didn't sign an NDA either. And that was kind of pretty much the crux of it. They said after that, Bob Barker retired. They said, of course they said he was getting older and it was time to pass the baton, but actually he was forced out. I mean, at that point, times were changing. The things he could get away with in the 1980s and early 1990s wasn't going anymore. You had people like, people like Claudia Jordan. I was like, yeah, absolutely not. Like, I'm not, no, you're not going to be grabbing my ass. Like, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. And people are not afraid to sue you. People are not afraid to speak up. Phil is gone now. You done fired all of these people that you felt like weren't loyal to you. And so CBS was like, yeah, it's time to go. Baby, Janice was not in this documentary. They don't know nothing about Janice. They didn't even give us an update on Janice. And if they did, I missed it. After Janice got fired, child. Now, Kathleen also sued for sexual harassment and wrongful termination. No, she sued for wrongful termination, and she won her lawsuit. All of them got a settlement. I shouldn't say they won. Kathleen got a settlement. Lauren got a settlement. Claudia got a settlement. Holly won her lawsuit because she sued Bob Barker. She won her lawsuit. Everybody else got a settlement, which, you could take that how you want. You could say, hey, that was a win. Or you could say, well, maybe they win, you win, however you want to look at it, I think I remember him being critical of Drew Carey after he was replaced. Yeah, because if they forced him out and he didn't want to leave the show, of course he's going to be critical of who came behind him, And that was pretty much that was the jux of it. Y'all know when I do these reviews, I don't tell you every single thing. I just give you my overview and I go through my notes. I highly recommend you guys go watch it. It was really, really good. It was 2 hours, but it was, because it was a part 1 and a part 2. So the hours are broken up. Yeah, Cheryl. Yeah, he did. They said he did. They said he was very depressed and that he was borderline, he was ready to unalive himself. They said it was really bad. They did say that. I'm gonna say this. Took me a long time to get used to Drew. Well, change is hard. Y'all know me. Y'all know it's hard for me. Change is hard. I highly recommended you guys go watch it. We talked about this yesterday with Cesar Chavez, right? Unfortunately, it's hard for us to kind of revisit people that we loved in our childhood, looked up to, revered, all of those different words, and see that they weren't necessarily the people we thought they were, I guess. Am I surprised to find out that a white man born in Texas in the if he was 99 in 2023, somebody that was born in the 1920s was racist? Yeah, no. You know what I mean? But it's always sort of a slap in the face to see it and hear it. You know what I mean? Because I believe that's what they say, he was from Texas. Off subject, I'm sorry, but Claudia is making me think that the interviewer that she used to bully Michael B. Jordan asking for an apology now. How do you feel about that? Oh, what? Oh. I don't understand what you're asking me. Hold on, Kim. Let me read it again. Claudia is making me think about the interviewer that used to bully Michael B. Jordan asking for an apology. Now, how do y'all all feel about that? I'm not sure. I don't understand your question. This came on E-TV. So you E-Television, E-Entertainment Network, whatever they call it. It came on E. If you have E, you have it. No, it's okay, Kim. I just don't understand your question. I don't mind answering it. I just didn't understand your question. Oh, we know Richard Dawson had a story. I feel like they did a documentary on Richard Dawson. I feel like they did. It's on Hulu too? Okay, so if you have Hulu, you can get it. Thank you, R and Diva. Yeah, I'm guilty of fantasizing people on TV as the character of the play. Then you find out who they really are, and it's a bit devastating. It's true. And that's why we, myself included, that's why we can't really put people on these pedestals, because they're people. They're people just like us. They do the same things we do. What they used to say, they put their leg on one they put their pants on one leg at a time. You know what I mean? They're like everybody else. So just as long as there isn't a documentary on Victor Newman. No! Not Victor! No! Yeah, the first one was on Dr. Phil. The second one was on America's Next Top Model. And this one is on The Price is Right. So I thought it was really good. I thought it was really well done. Again, shout out to, what was his name, y'all? I need to screenshot it so I can remember his name. The young man that was in the documentary, that he's like a game show guru. He called himself a game show nerd, and so he has like the history of game shows. I would like to talk to him about some of these. I'm gonna reach out to him. I'm gonna go back in my review, and I'm gonna try to find him on Instagram. Because I haven't deleted it yet. I'm gonna go back and find his name, and I'm gonna see if I can find him on Instagram. I would love to interview him about what else is in his brain about all the different game shows. Because like in the 1980s and the 1990s, game shows, things go in cycles, and game shows controlled morning television. They didn't have all of these Good Morning Americas and The View and The Talk and all these other shows. It was game shows. You watched game shows until your soap operas came on, and after the soap operas went off, you watched more game shows. Like I said, I remember, well, no, it was game shows, soap operas, and then I remember like The People's Court and Judge Judy and stuff, and then you would the nightly news, and then you had Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. But there was so many game shows during the day. Like I said, Hollywood Squares, the Newlywed Game, I think came on that night too, though. Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal. I don't know why I remember Sale of the Century, but I used to love Sale of the Century. I don't know why. What was that? Joker's? What was the one with the Joker's Wild where it goes around the thing? Password. All of these were all shows that came in. All of them had them. ABC, NBC, No Whammy. Yeah. That's the one I'm talking about. No Whammy. But ABC, NBC, and CBS all had game shows during the day. Pressure Luck. Yes, Pressure Luck. Pyramid. Yeah. Was it 50,000? I think now they rebooted it, and now it's the $100,000 pyramid. But yeah, I think it was like $50,000 pyramid back then. The Gong Show. I never did like the Gong Show though. I wasn't, I don't really like shows where I feel like people get hurt, like their feelings really get hurt. And that's kind of how I felt about the Gong Show. That's how I felt about American Idol. That's how I felt about, that's why I don't watch The Voice. I know The Voice has come up with some really great singers, but I hate the audition process when you are literally, these people are singing their heart out and they are waiting for somebody to hit that button and turn around. Baby, after a couple of times of watching it and somebody not hitting that button and them people singing and get to the end of the song and they just standing there. I can't do it, y'all. That does something to me. That hurts my feelings. I don't like it. I be like, now these people are singing their heart out, and sometimes they sound good, and I be like, why isn't anybody hitting their button and turning around? These people are singing, it's one thing if they can't sing. But yeah, I didn't like it. The host of the Gong Show is said to have been a CIA operative. What? Pressure Luck scandal in 1984. Now I gotta Google it. What was the other one? Love Connection. That was a good one too. I used to love watching Love Connection when they had bad dates and they would be trying their best not to like be too mean, but you could tell they wasn't really feeling the person. Love Connection was good. They ain't having no black people on Love Connection for me, but what you gonna do? Match Game. I was so mad because I loved the reboot with with the guy, and then he got in trouble because on his movie set somebody got unalived, and he was getting sued, so they canceled it. What's his name? I think they tried to put Martin Short, and it just wasn't good. What was his name, y'all? Y'all know who I'm talking about. Win, lose, or draw, Alec Baldwin. Yes, baby. Match Game was so funny with Alec Baldwin. I used to love it. And then that stuff happened. They fired him, and I think Martin Short took over, and it didn't really do it for me. Yep, Win, Lose, or Draw. I remember Win, Lose, or Draw. Yeah, all of these were game shows that I remember growing up. So I'm going to go back and write that young man's name down. And I'm going to see if I can reach out to him. I would love to talk to him because I'm sure he has some insight. And he probably could tell us some stuff that they didn't say in the documentary. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if he wrote a book. I would buy his book. I never really got into supermarket sweep either. I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't like going to the grocery store. I don't like going to the grocery store now. Y'all know I Instacart. The best thing they could have done was create a delivery service. I hate going to the grocery store. The grocery store and the gas station are two places I absolutely hate going to. I hate going to the gas station. I am not one of those people that just put $10 in. Maybe if I'm going to the gas station, I'm filling my tank up. I don't care. And I'm not going to the gas station until my tank is under that last line. Because when I go, I'm filling it up because I don't like going. I don't know what it is about going to. I do not like going to the gas station. I hate it. And I hate going to the grocery store. Hate it. Although I've been enjoying going down to Trader Joe's. I don't know why. I've been getting into Trader Joe's lately. And I like going to Trader Joe's. I've been buying stuff from Trader Joe's because I think Trader Joe's made me think I'm eating healthy. I feel like I'm making good decisions. I feel like at Trader Joe's, there is no bad decision. Even if you buy like something sweet at Trader Joe's, I feel like it's still made with like the right kind of sugar. You know what I mean? I think Trader Joe's gives me less guilt. I just feel like I feel like there's no wrong move at Trader Joe's. I'm not saying that that's true. I'm saying that's how I feel. I feel like everything is farm raised. Yeah, Sweet Pea, I drive down to the one in Annapolis. First of all, I love going to Annapolis. I make up reasons to go to Annapolis. I don't know why I like driving down to Annapolis, but I do. Love it, love it, love it. If I ever got rich, I would buy me a house in Annapolis on the water. Because it's close enough that I could come, it's close enough, but I love Annapolis. And my grandmother loved Annapolis. I think maybe that's part of it too. My grandmother loved Annapolis. Yeah, Annapolis is right. I drive down to Annapolis for no reason. I make up reasons to drive to Annapolis. And I go the long way too. I don't get on 50. I take the back roads. I love it. From my house, I take the back roads. Sure do. Anyway, y'all, let me get off of here. At 8:30, y'all know we're going to be doing the season finale. Okra chips. I'm going to have to try some. Because I've never been an okra fan. But I would try okra chips because, like I said, I feel like I'm making good decisions when I go to Trader Joe's. And Trader Joe's is not that expensive. It's not like Whole Foods. Whole Foods is expensive for no damn reason. You like going to a yes, you take the long way too. Yes, baby, I take the scenic route. I like going over that little bridge where Mike's is. I love going over that little bridge and looking at the houses on. Baby, Annapolis is my happy place. I'm probably gonna go to Trader Joe's this weekend. I go to Trader Joe's every other weekend. The weekends when I get my hair done, I usually don't go to Trader Joe's, but on the weekends when I'm like every other week, I get my hair done. So I'm probably gonna go to Trader Joe's Saturday. They're my people. Let me get off of here. As y'all at 8:30, we're gonna be doing the season finale of the scene. ATL. We're gonna be on JoJo's channel. So I'm about to go and then I'm about to go give myself about 30 minutes, and then we'll be doing that at 8:30. So with that being said, I will talk to y'all later. Thanks again for being here. Y'all go check it out. Let me know what y'all think. It was a really, really good. I think it was really well done. Because I feel like they could have dug deeper, but I don't think they wanted to totally obliterate this man's character, but give you enough. Thank you, Missy. Yes, Annapolis where the military men are, honey. Yes. Tracy just dropped the link. Before I get out of here, let me do the real quick church announcements. We had 2 more people. Well, technically, one person. One person was already booked, but they wasn't in our group. They are now officially in our group. We had 2 more people book the cruise. And again, remember, after yesterday, I cannot, those dates, I mean, those, I can't tell you what the prices are. I'm sorry, y'all, I can't get my words out. I cannot tell you what the prices are, but what I can say is right now, the prices are very, very reasonable. If you still want to get on this shit with us, please come and join us. We're going to have ourselves a good time. I think we officially have 30 rooms. That's a good number of people, y'all. We probably close to 40 people on this ship. I can't wait to how we gonna look with our t-shirts on this ship, honey. So please, this is the information right here. I need to take the March 16th obviously off the flyer, but actually I need to change this whole flyer. But get the phone number and get the group number if you want to join us. What happened, Chuck? West Point. Is West Point? No, West Point isn't. Yeah, West Point isn't Annapolis. Annapolis is the Naval Academy. Yeah. Yeah. West Point is the Naval Academy. Also, don't forget that we will be having our How to Dream session in July. Yeah, I saw earlier. I had to pause for a minute because Dee, the author Dee Pecchioni Cummings called me, and we were clearing some things. I mean, not clearing some things up. We were shoring some things up, is what I should say. And so, please, you guys, on July the 18th, feel free to join us. We'll be talking about dreams, how to make our dreams come true, what we need to do to get the obstacles out of our way to get to those dreams. How do we get the fear out of those obstacles to get to those dreams? And there will be food, there will be fellowship, there will be pictures because we're going to be in a content creation studio with over 40 different settings. Take all the pictures you want, bring you a change of clothes, do all of the things, honey. And we're going to have ourselves a good time. We're going to have ourselves a good time. The tickets, you can buy the tickets at Ticket Spice. Let me get you the link. And right now we have the early bird tickets, which are $80. What did the place say? What place, Tracy? Damn, I still ain't talked to the lady. You know what? I'm getting off here right now. I'm gonna text her right now. I'm gonna call her right now. I'm gonna call her right now. Because I forgot, Tracy. I ain't gonna lie. I forgot. All right. With that being said, y'all, let me get out of here so I can do a few things before 8:30. And I will talk to y'all later. Mwah! Peace.